In ancient Rome, the basic norm was that slaves may be freely tormented. In fact, it was highly encouraged that any free man accused of a crime would have his slaves tortured in his place, frequently to the death, so that a verdict might be obtained. That didn't stop Rome's elite from torturing the free men and women of their country though. There were always loopholes in the laws of ancient Rome. The elite rulers exploited each and every one of them. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be looking at the most insane punishments used during the Roman Empire. Yeah, you heard it right. Sewn into a donkey. If you're seeking brutal and unusual types of torture, you don't have to look any further than ancient Rome. Take for instance a torment that was described by both Apuleius and Lucian. A donkey would be slain, its belly sliced open, and its entrails extracted. The accused was then stripped of clothing and put into the animal's belly. The belly was sewed closed, leaving only the accused's head outside, averting asphyxia but prolonging the pain. The donkey's body was preserved in the sun. It would begin to decompose with the living victim inside, being fried by the heat. Maggots would crawl all over the accused, and vultures would peck at the animal's decaying flesh. Death, however, was welcomed and came slowly for the sufferer of this suffering. Feed to wild hogs. St. Gregory recorded cruel torture inflicted on young women by the Heliopolitans while they were under Roman rule. Virgins who were to experience this agony were delivered to the gladiators first. Once the young woman lost her virginity, she was stripped in public and her abdomen was slashed open, exposing her organs. She was stuffed with handfuls of barley and sewed back up, only to be tossed to feral pigs. She would then be dismembered. Cut off. In ancient Rome, the higher your standing, the more individuals you were permitted to mutilate without repercussions. For instance, the emperor might seduce anybody he chooses. A general could pursue a lieutenant or an ordinary citizen, and soldiers could pursue ordinary citizens. The ascent of the social ladder was prohibited. If a regular person opted to sexually assault an unwilling soldier, he was publicly castrated. If the soldier voluntarily permitted a common person to penetrate him, he would be disemboweled in public. These rules, along with the genuine affection between men, muddied the waters considerably. Anyone may easily accuse a man of breaking rank or consenting a penetration by a man of a lower position. Pinacole. The Romans also introduced pinacole, often known as a sack punishment. The culprit was placed in a simple leather sack and drowned, as death was the ultimate objective. Pinacole first occurs in Titus Livius' History of Rome. According to the agreement, in it, Livy relates to how in 101 BC, Marcus Publius Malleolus was sewn into his sack and cast into the sea for killing his mother. Later versions of the punishment included the use of live animals, making Livy's accounts of the event appear tame in comparison. According to Emperor Justinian's legislation from AD 530, this is not execution by the sword or by fire, or any other conventional kind of punishment. Rather, the culprit is sewn into a sack with a dog, a cock, a viper, and an ape, and then cast into the sea or river. The ancient Romans reserved this unusual punishment for parricide, the murder of a parent or close relative. Tortured senator. Caligula was exactly as harsh as Tiberius the Elder. He once had a senator's throat slit open. The senator survived, and Caligula ordered the removal of his eyes. After that, his inside organs were removed using heated pincers. To add insult to injury, the senator was chopped in half and shredded. According to Roman philosophy, death was not a punishment, but rather a release. Torture was a form of punishment, and death was permitted only after a certain amount of agony and fear had been endured. Nailed into barrels. Some people were destined to endure greater agony before the blissful release of death. During Emperor Domitian's reign, Christians were subjected to the cruelest forms of torture. One of the most revolting forms of torture was smearing a Christian with honey and milk. The victim was then tied to a barrel and forcibly fed food infected with parasites. The victim's body began to decompose in the barrel as the parasites feasted on its internal organs. After approximately 2 weeks of severe torture, the person would die and become a Christian martyr. Buried alive. Emperor Nero took pleasure in burying people alive. He reserved this penalty almost entirely for Vestal virgins who violated their vows of chastity. According to one narrative, Nero forcibly seduced the priestess Rubria. She was imprisoned in a small cave and left to starve to death as her punishment. Another form of torture sanctioned by Nero was for the accused to dig his own grave. After the hole was dug, a stake was placed inside. The defendant was then tied and buried alive. If his offense was slight, he would be pushed until the spike penetrated his heart. whoever is found guilty of a serious act was pushed so that the stake fatally injured him, then he was either left to die in agonizing pain or buried alive. So that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so that you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next video.